Welcome to the ProLife Team Podcast. I'm here with Tony with Dadhood, and we're going to talk about men's programs and the need for men's programs to be more of the norm in pregnancy clinics, more so than being just a rare scenario that's only in about 10 to 20 to 40% at different levels of clinics. We like to see it in all clinics, really.
Yes.
Could you introduce yourself? If you were to meet an executive director in a elevator, how would you introduce yourself to her as to like who you are and how you normally come alongside a clinic to help them with their men's program?
Yeah, quite often I don't have to begin that conversation because if I have a tag or a shirt on and say, "What is Dadhood?"
Okay.
And it's really a play on fatherhood, going beyond fatherhood, because you can be a father but not really be a dad.
Okay.
So that's the difference in our name, is we try to create dads and not just let them be fathers, because any man can really be a father. But we have a lot of fathers out there today who are not dads.
So how would you explain the difference? Like, what does a dad have that a father may not?
A dad, first of all, is there. He's involved. He's part of their son or daughter's life. Instead of just being somebody that the child never meets, or somebody who just writes a check every month. You know, there's more to being a father than just child support.
Okay.
An involved father to me is a dad, and there's a difference there.
That's good.
Especially for the sake of the mom. You know, whether she's going to be a single mom or considered a single mom, all on her own. And she shouldn't have to be. It's not her job to be both.
And moms need dads more so than just fathers.
Yeah, and she needs the support as much as her child does. So.
Yeah, but I mean, like her husband, the person in that relationship with her, she needs that man to be a dad to her child, and not just to be a father, father of the child.
Right.
Okay.
And most of the vast majority of young men who come into a pregnancy center are from father-absent homes.
Okay.
And it's almost like a generational repeating thing. It becomes a cycle that becomes the norm to a lot of the young men who come in, because that's all they've ever known is a father-absent home. And one thing that can really challenge them is asking, do you want your child to grow up the way you did? And they think about that and usually say, no, I don't want. I want to know my child. I want to be involved in their life and not grow up the way I did. So it's really, if you just point out to them, do you want them to go through life the way you have up to this point, or do you want to be involved? And usually, if they see the difference and understand the difference, they don't want what they consider normal. They want to change that and break that cycle.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So I had some questions. I wanted to ask you about, let's see. So when it comes to messaging, when it comes to a pregnancy clinic and bringing up dads, I think we were talking before a couple hours ago about how sometimes a clinic, when they're providing counseling, that they may not mention it, or they're wondering why they don't have, people asking about dads. I forget how you said it, but somehow like you asked them like, is it in you? Did you bring it up? Or, did you invite the father to the ultrasound and things along those lines? Can you tell that story?
Yeah, it's kind of a nothing wrong about it. It's just kind of a mindset that it is a women's ministry. Pregnancy Center is a women's ministry, and many of them want to include the father. They want to include the male, but it's just not the way they're set up. So you just really have to think outside what is considered their normal box, and begin to actively reach out to them, and not just assume they're going to find you or find your services and come in. As far as the messaging, you just really have to make it part of your focus, part of your mission, because a lot of centers will start a men's ministry, and we've helped several do that will say we're not getting the men in, because they haven't changed the message. They haven't begun to actually truly invite young men to come into the center, because they haven't put it on their website, or they haven't stressed it in their social media pages. They haven't begun to reach out to the young men who actually come into the building, who are actually there, by using brochures, or if you have a male in the building, what we call coaches, advocates, mentors, having them actually go out and talk with them, not just in the building, but actually active in the building. So a lot of centers struggle with the messaging. How do we reach men? We reach the men basically the same way you do the young ladies, but just in a different style.
Yeah, and one of the things that you mentioned was like asking the young lady to invite, if when obviously when appropriate, but inviting her, the dad or the father of this child to come to the ultrasound, or asking like, what does he think about this pregnancy, and so if that doesn't get brought up, what are the benefits of asking about the father? And because you were saying before how he's probably the most influential voice
Definitely.
in this scenario.
Yeah. If I always try to get our centers to understand that that's really important to actively reach out to the father of the baby if she's abortion minded or abortion vulnerable. And if she's in the center talking with a female client advocate, making sure that advocate finds out, where does the dad stand? Where is the father? Is he still around? Is he in a relationship with you? What does he think about this? Because the biggest reason that young ladies consider abortion or have abortion is they are getting pressure from the father of the baby to abort, or they're getting no support from the father of the baby. And sometimes in these times, he doesn't want an abortion, but he's afraid to say anything because he's been told by our society and our culture today that it's her decision and not yours, and you should just basically sit down and shut up, and we'll let you know if we need you or not. So he's kind of been browbeaten into that whole
my body,
whole idea.
my choice.
My body, my choice.
Yeah.
And
or no uterus, no something.
Yeah. No voice, something like that.
Yeah.
We're very good at getting this, getting the titles right, aren't we?
But those,
whatever the movement is.
But that's that's that shout. That's that
exactly
that message from the enemy of be quiet. It's not your body. It's not your voice. You're not the one making the decision.
Yeah.
And essentially pushing him out of the room.
Yes.
And he is obviously in the room and needs to have a voice in the room.
And if she chooses life, that's just that much harder on her because she's kind of pushed the father of the baby out of the room, and it shouldn't be that way.
It's almost like people, like the scenario is that of course he's for abortion and we should just keep him out. It's almost like that's the voice that the enemy is putting in our ear.
Yeah.
Is that he'll obviously be he'll make it harder, but in reality, that may not be his voice. His voice could be.
Yeah. He thinks
supportive.
He's doing the right thing by being quiet and letting her make the decision.
Yeah.
She looks at it as he's not going to support me. He's being quiet. He's not offering any support here. So that means he wants me to abort. I don't want to be a single mom. I don't want to be in this all by myself. I don't want to go through a pregnancy by myself. She takes that as he's not going to be there for me. And he's looking at it like, well, I'll let her make the decision. It's her body, her choice. And there's just a lack of communication there where they don't, actually communicate what each one's thinking, which is what, like you said, the enemy says that's what he wants. Author of confusion. So he thinks he's doing the right thing, and she thinks she's have to do the right thing to, she sees no other way out. She sees no hope.
So tell me about how this gets turned around or improved or by a men's program, and how having men involved. Tell me, where's the solution from your viewpoint?
Well, I think, this being the ministry I've had for 20 years, is that every center in America should not only have an outreach to men, but actually embrace that ministry as in a dream world, in a perfect world, as at the same level or the same passion as they do with the girls, because it takes two. And if we are going to truly try to stop abortion, if we leave him outside the building, we're missing the biggest impact we can have with his voice being involved. And if he's been shut down or shut out, we're missing a big influence on the decision, and we're basically denying him all that he can be as a father, all that he can be to become a dad. And if he's, secluded, I always say, where else is he going to go? He's been told to stay out of the decision. She's getting lots of wonderful help in a center, and she's shown love and compassion, of course. And he's basically shown the door,
Yeah.
So I think every center should at least, at the very minimum, welcome him in. I think most centers do that anyway, but also have something there for him. A lot of young men that I talk to, they come in, they want to be involved. And I think there's a higher percentage of young men wanting to be involved than what we're seeing in pregnancy centers. I have the book back there, Building Dads in Pink Buildings. And some people look at that and say, well, we're not a pink building. Well, that's not the point. It's the way he sees your building.
Yeah,
it's the way he sees your
99%,
ministry.
Most executive directors are women. Most staff and counselors and nurse teams are women.
Yes.
I would guess it's, what would you say the number of, how many men are currently like staff/volunteers typically across your experience?
There are more male executive directors than there used to be years ago when I started doing this, but I'd say it's maybe 10%. That's just a wild guess.
And maybe it used to be 5%.
Yeah. So it's doubled.
It's doubled.
Yeah, it's way up.
Big increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that does make a difference it seems to me what I've have experienced over the years is having a male executive director changes the dynamics of the center enough that there is an outreach. Now, that's not to say I know some wonderful female executive directors who just have a heart for the men and who work hard and do great work having men's ministries. This may sound offensive to the other ones. I just say they get it. They're the ones who get it and embrace it and run with it. There are others who I'd say get it, but they just don't have the opportunity or the, they don't have the foundation to build upon to reach men quite yet.
So the needs vary when it comes to support and information and education on how to include a men's program.
Yeah.
And it seems like overall, there's a huge need for more people to do it better or to even do it at all. I think that's the overarching message is that it seems like a small percent of pregnancy clinics have a healthy men's program, while the next group, most people don't have a men's program at all. And then several have a men's program that may be, not doing well. And then a small percent seem to have one that's doing well. And so it seems like there's a lot of need for growth and improvement in education and
a lot of room there.
A lot of room to do better overall.
Yes. For sure.
So one of the podcasts I was working on 2 weeks ago, and it turned out, I was low energy. And so I didn't turn out very well, and I want to do it again. And we're going to do it again in a few weeks. But it was talking about how a clinic over the last 6 years has helped 16 couples get married. And they partnered with a church who then provided premarital counseling. The venue was provided by the church, and then the pastor was able to provide that premarital and postmarital counseling, along with some essentially trying to help. Ideally, hopefully, is providing some discipleship, church community, but all of that it hinges on the fact that that there's a couple here, and it's not just a woman by herself. In several scenarios, there is a man involved. And to different degrees, but actually trying to bring it all the way to building, strengthening that relationship between that couple is a way of also, so, and
making a better life for their baby for sure.
And essentially helping both the man and the woman meet Jesus, making good decisions or better decisions down the road, and getting closer as they begin their walk with Jesus. Because pregnancy clinics are amazing at helping people who have an unplanned pregnancy and have a lot of hardships going on to help them meet Jesus in this time through action and word. And then to be able to bring that couple to a church community where they can continue to grow and to fellowship and to have discipleship and learning. But all that integral puzzle piece in that entire story is that the man is being included and supported, and with pastoral care and counseling.
Yeah.
It's like that's an ideal situation. But that dadhood piece or that fatherhood, bringing the man in with some level of discipleship and support, it seems like, that is very much part of that plan.
Yeah, I don't think you would find a center director or a center at all that would disagree with, we would love to see these parents come together, unless there's like an abusive situation,
of course,
something like that.
And that's why I have some hesitation, because there's some, if someone is in a dangerous situation, that's not the best decision. But their safety is so important.
Right.
But if they're in many situations, it is a good, place for them to build and for both of them to get on a better journey. Yeah.
I think what I've seen with, I would probably say most young men, at least 50-50. If they come into the center and they can speak with what we call a coach, a male advocate, a mentor, whatever you want to call him or give his title, I've found that these young men are more open to the gospel than they would have been a week ago before they got a positive pregnancy test. And I think that's the same way with everybody. Yeah. That you don't really think about God until you're at that point where else do I go? So when they come into the center, you can introduce them to Christ where they've never really met him before or wanted to meet him before. So it's a great place. It's a mission field. And the great thing about that mission field is they come to you. You don't have to go halfway around the world and pick up your family and go to Africa or something. They come into you and you have the opportunity to share the gospel.
And they are, and it seems like they're going through a really hard time, which makes it so they're willing to listen. And then when Jesus provides hope, help, and healing, it's such a remarkable opportunity to it seems like the timing is right for people to hear it.
They're looking for hope, and especially if they're abortion minded, they see no hope in their situation, and of course there's always hope in Christ. So when you can introduce them to the gospel and share that, and they accept Christ, it turns the whole situation around. Where they felt like before that their world had turned upside down with the news of a positive test and an unexpected or unplanned pregnancy.
Sure.
Now you flip it back, and they have the hope of Christ and eternal life and all the things that come away what we call the abundant life. And what a great way to start a family. What a great place to build upon with a baby, because then the baby can be introduced to Christ, whereas before, if it was a different situation, possibly never would have had the opportunity to hear it from their parents. So the opportunity is there when you have a young man come into the building and you really actively reach him with passion and gusto.
Yeah.
You can change so many lives, and of course the ripple effects from that go out to their support community, their families, whoever it may be, can at that point reach or can find Christ as well. It's just it's a something that just flows out from that. So it's a great place and great opportunity, especially for young men, to find the Lord that they may never have found otherwise.
Oh, that's really good. So tell me about your ministry or organization or company, Dadhood. How do you come alongside pregnancy clinics to help empower them to reach men?
Well, there are a lot of, and we've already heard here at this conference, of centers that want to reach men. They see the need and they see the side effects that comes along with reaching men, but they just don't know how, because it's not in their wheelhouse. Their focus is ministering to the young ladies, and they do a wonderful job of that, but it's a different focus. You have to change gears to reach young men. So we try to help them, come alongside them. Nothing else, just give them some advice. We have a book that helps them, the Building Dads in Pink Buildings, help them overcome that view by the young men coming in that it's not just a pink building, it's at least a neutral building where they can come in and feel welcome, and it's not just a place where female medicine happens and scary and they don't want to even walk in the door. They're thinking inside the door in the waiting room is an OBGYN waiting or something. But we try to help them figure out ways to maybe make their center more friendly. And then if they are really interested in, starting a men's ministry, we try to help them with the book. We have curriculum that we can equip them with. We have some resources for abortion-minded and abortion-vulnerable young men, different ways to help them attract, like I said, like we call coaches. But I've found over the years, and I had somebody just comment a little while ago about the fact that if you have male volunteers, men who want to be involved and men who want to be coaches, you have to give them something. You can't just let them come in the door and expect them just to run with the ball and have great success. They have to have something to work with too. If you can put a curriculum or something in their hands and say, hey, this is for you, this is male specific, this is male friendly, only for the guys, they say, okay, then this helps me, I can go with it. But if you just bring them in, it's like sending them to war without a gun and expecting great success. And I hope nobody gets upset with the gun reference.
We could use
our society today.
Sending someone to build a house without their tools.
There you go. That's better. In today's society, that's much better. Without a hammer. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you put this nail in there without the hammer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you give them something to work with, it may be a hammer, maybe a curriculum.
Sure.
They can have a lot better success because the main thing is to get the guys in and talk to them. A lot of these guys they just need somebody to talk to. They have no father in their lives. They have nobody at home. The best advice they're getting, is from their buddies who, are basically useless when it comes to good, solid
Yeah, it may not
advice.
be the right source for wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of short on that probably at that age. I was.
Yeah,
so,
that's understandable or common, I suppose, in many circles. So, yeah.
Yeah. So if they can, we try to help centers get started, and then we do on-site trainings for their coaches where we can help them learn how to use the curriculum, how to visit with young men, how to minister, how to reach out, and just try to help them get started and get building. Some centers already have a men's ministry in place. They just need to kick it up a notch.
So what's the variety of men's programs? Like I can imagine like a men's Bible study.
Yeah.
But before this podcast, we were talking about how some groups would have like a barbecue or a woodworking option that would help provide like space to do discipleship or building trust, rapport, and relationships. And
I think the best discipleship is just life on life.
Okay.
Building a rapport, building a relationship. Same way it works with the girls and their advocate. You build a relationship and you've really established something. Different centers have tried different things, and I get to, learn from those things and try to share what's working with others. There's a center, and I can't remember places or names. That's the worst part. I remember the programs. Sometimes I remember the cities if I'm on a roll.
But which programs or which ideas have people have tried and that had some level of success?
There's a center somewhere in America. I guess it's in America.
Yeah, hopefully they'll listen to this podcast.
And they'll identify themselves.
They put them in the comments.
Yeah, because I forget. But they had some coaches who were already involved in the center somehow, who were woodworkers.
Okay.
And they wanted to do something. Well, they set up a wood shop on the property there, I guess. Somebody had a wood shop they set up, and they would take the clients, the male clients who come in, out into the wood shop and talk and then visit, and then they would get them involved in learning how to use a lathe and all these things. If they got into the actual ongoing fatherhood program, which could be 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, they would teach these young men how to use these things, and they would build, or they do build, their baby's changing table.
Oh, wow.
And like you said, that could be like a family heirloom down the road.
Yeah, I could imagine like, in 80 years, it might be passed down 3 times.
Depending on how well they build it.
Oh.
If it lasts 80 years.
All right. Well, maybe it'll be in.
We'll go by faith. It'll be 80 years.
It'll be in the online pictures.
Yeah.
It'll be in their video rolls of that, in 80 years.
Yeah. But I just think that's a great program because it's not just the building of the item, it's that the fellowship that goes along with it and the discipleship that goes along with it.
Some family heirlooms aren't necessarily built
That's
professionally.
true.
Sometimes they're having to be rehammered every couple decades.
Yes, I have those. I have some of those.
So my mom, she has this piece from my granddad that he built when she was 4 years old, and it's got rough edges. Yeah. My dad's had to repaint it a few times, and it definitely is not considered to be polished or necessarily safe, but the value of it is huge. I mean, if someone didn't know that it was a family heirloom, they would look at it as
kindling.
That wouldn't even be. You wouldn't give that to Goodwill.
Just that needs to go out to the street.
But based on the fact that it was made by my granddad, all of my children have ridden in it and they love swinging in it. Yeah. And it's a huge. It's a good experience because it was passed down, and it's just a really awesome thing.
Stuff like what my grandpa has made for me and my cousins and his kids, just stuff that has outlived him. Like we have a quilt rack in our living room, and trash cans he's made. Okay. Matching tater boxes.
Tater boxes. So
made me a dog food box that looks like a tater box, and most people have no clue what we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what a tater box is. So what is actually? How does a tater box work, or what's it look like?
Well, the trash cans are like so tall, 3 feet tall, whatever, and they're a frame, and you put a trash bag in, and it's just made for a kitchen trash bag. Okay. And then the lid sits over that to hold it in, and then it has a rise up and down lid. The tater box or dog food box or tater and onion box, however somebody wanted it made, because he used to make them for people, just has a slanted lid kind of, and it says that on it. And it's a smaller box you can keep your potatoes in or onions. And it has like a whatever the back is breathable. I'm trying to think of the right word. Okay. So it's open, so it has some circulation to it, so they don't rot. Okay. So, but he made stuff like that, which I still have. He made clocks. He made doll houses for my female cousins. Wow. And that's just the way, it's just the way he showed his love for his grandkids. He would not verbally express it. He was just kind of that old, he was born in the teens. Yeah. So he grew up in the Depression days and World War II and all that. And so he wasn't very verbal, but you could tell the satisfaction he would take in making things for his kids and grandkids. Yeah, so it seems if a picture is worth 1,000 words, making someone a tater box or making something for somebody out of wood probably speaks at least 7,000 to 10,000 words. Yeah. Or like with the changing tables. Yes. That would, of course, it wouldn't mean anything to the baby right away, obviously, but it would obviously definitely show some commitment from the father. Yeah, I think it helps him connect with this baby. It engages him during the pregnancy. It gives him ownership. And it takes a while to build that, especially if he doesn't know what he's doing. These coaches are training him how to use these shop tools and things. Okay. And they're spending that time together in fellowship, and they're, building a relationship, that's probably more of a male thing than it is. Yeah, I think it helps him take ownership. It helps him have a story to share that has like a masculine a masculine story about the pregnancy. Yeah. And it may end up like your mom's swing where it needs patched and fixed. Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah. The part about the value is in the history more so than in the unit. And it really gives a lot of I'm sure a lot of pride to the young father who makes it. that he's able to give it to his child. And it probably reveals a lot or proves a lot, even sometimes in some situations, to her family and his family, that he's real about this. He's on board, and he's, really taking the situation seriously, and he's engaged, and he's here to stay. So I hope that's what it says, and I hope he's here to stay.
Yeah.
But when they buy into a pregnancy, as soon as he gets the news he's going to be a father, he gets the test that is a positive test. If he gets involved then, and he's there for the pregnancy, and he's learning and growing, and he and the mom are working together and growing together, it's just a natural step for him to become a father. Whereas sometimes we say, okay, here's your positive test. In 7 months, you're going to be a father, and we'll let you know. And he's just say, go sit on the bench in the dugout until then and be warming up, and we'll let you know when it's time.
And we need him to get in that game. We need him to be playing and a part and active participant.
It makes all the difference in the world, and it makes all the difference in the world for her too, that he is there to support her and walk through it. And studies will show too that if he's involved, she has a healthier pregnancy, because he helps hold her accountable for her health decisions, abstaining from alcohol or smoking, and she's more likely even to take her prenatal vitamins, because he's there to kind of check on her.
That makes sense.
Yeah, some of the stats you get out of there, like, really, never really thought about that. But she takes better care of herself if he is walking alongside her through the pregnancy.
So how does your group, Dadhood, help a clinic bring in the, how does it help serve the clients that are men, or the men in these couples that are coming in with unplanned pregnancy tests or unplanned pregnancies from a positive test? How does your group help come alongside and encourage and empower clinics to reach and support the men in these?
Yeah, first of all, we want to just encourage.
Just making sure we're good on the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good.
We want to encourage the centers to get in the game.
Okay.
To really want to reach out to men. And,
okay.
We help any way that we can to encourage them, give them free advice or whatever, or share with them what other centers are doing that's working. But then we also have some resources they can tap into. We have our own curriculum that they can use lessons they can use that the coach, mentor, advocate, whatever your terminology wants to be, that they can work with these young men, teach them, train them, lessons about even practical stuff like budgeting and things like that, all the way to taking a good look at your own father and see if you want to repeat what he's done in your life or improve upon it.
So practically, how does this connect with the man? Is it something that he is given, like a pamphlet or some printouts, or is it something that the counselor would use on how to speak to him? Like, how does it sort of, like, where's the rubber meet the road when it comes to how does he connect with this content?
The biggest thing is just talking to him.
Okay.
Building a rapport, as quickly as you can, and figuring out what his needs are. Meeting him where he is, using curriculum. It may be somebody else's curriculum, but something to meet him there and grow him from that point. We help train coaches in centers how to use the curriculum and how to engage them. Some men want to do that. They're just not quite sure how. So, like, we have interactive videos and things that will teach them and train them to at least how to deal with young men coming in those different situations. We have how-to books for the center to get started, and abortion-minded, abortion-vulnerable materials. If he's coming in, he's considering abortion, or she's considering abortion, to change his mind or to encourage him to step up and stop it. So we have resources like that, written resources, and the training, and hopefully we can come alongside the centers to equip them, as we call it, establish and equip them to have coaches on staff, volunteer coaches, to engage the young men, how to engage young men, and then try to somehow help them work with abortion-minded, abortion-vulnerable young men as well.
Okay. And so when it comes to having a men's program, it seems like there's a big contrast between, telling someone to figure it out or just to go ahead and do it, and then it should be common sense compared to like giving them a roadmap or giving them like a playbook of how here's how you can do this, and here's some tips and tricks on how to set up this men's program and some ideas, and making it so that they don't have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then once they do it, it might feel like common sense, but it may not really be there because you have to essentially still figure out what to do. And so
some centers will they want to start a men's program. They'll start it. They'll get men to come in to be coaches. But if they don't give them something to work with, curriculum, streaming resources, videos, whatever it may be, they have to give them something to work with that they can use with the young men. If you just put them out there, like sending them to war without a gun.
Okay. Yeah. Or maybe building a house with the hammer.
Yeah. And you probably can't say gun these days. So I apologize if no lawsuits against Jacob here.
It's like sending someone to use a tater box with no taters.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You can't build a tater box without some
wood.
Nails and wood. Yeah. 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 That would be difficult. But
without a hammer.
Yeah, without a hammer. Or these days, a good cordless screwdriver. That's what.
Exactly.
That's my weapon of choice. Yeah, exactly. But if you don't do that, your rate of failure is much higher.
Yeah.
We had a lady who stopped by earlier saying, if this is working for other people, we don't want to try to reinvent the wheel. If somebody else is if something is working for somebody else, that's what we want to learn from.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of recycle. Like if an idea works in one place, let's recycle it somewhere else. Or another way of saying it is copy, paste, and reuse.
Yeah, I do a lot of that.
Yeah, really by making a curriculum, you're inviting someone to duplicate the effort that's already been put in, and essentially just a copy and paste and then rebrand and reuse. Allows for someone to benefit from weeks of work to put it together, and then months and years of tweaking and training and using and going back and polishing it back, and then for someone to then be able to use all of that effort, they essentially can skip a lot of the learning curve, a lot of the hardships of like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah. Well, every center is different, and some stuff works, some stuff doesn't.
Well, that's true too.
I always tell people right up front, I am not an expert. I don't have all the answers, but I have some experience learning how to do something and not to do something, how not to do it.
Yeah.
But also engaging with a lot of centers that I have now over the years. I can share experience, what their experience is, and it saves centers a lot of time. They don't have to go through the stuff that works and doesn't work, and the foundation is already there for them. I think that helps them.
They should probably try
board.
The ideas that have worked somewhere else first.
Yeah.
Before trying an idea that's untested or maybe failed last time it was tried.
Yeah.
I would say start with the ones that are more likely to succeed as a good general idea.
Yeah. Learn from the ones who are doing it successfully.
Yeah.
And not that I've always done stuff successfully, but I've tried to learn from other centers and other places and then pass that along. I'm like a clearinghouse of good and bad information. So,
and I feel like I'm in a similar boat where I often consider myself the librarian, where I'm trying to collect these good ideas from different clinics, and that's actually sort of like why I'm doing this podcast, is I'm trying to take a really good idea that is not common. It's not everyone's using it. It really needs to go from 10% of, throughout 10% of clinics to all clinics.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's sort of the goal of this podcast, is to highlight and amplify and magnify good ideas, God's fingerprints, and ways of helping clinics reach their mission and goals better.
Learning from each other.
and to be encouraged at the same time.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, so I think this is really good for those who want to learn more about Dadhood. Dadhood.org. Tony is a stand-up guy, and he has some really good material on his table here. If you contact him, he probably can send it to you in the mail.
Yeah.
And
everything we do is like a PDF download.
And his table is also very masculine for being at a pregnancy clinic conference. He's the only one sporting PVC pipe holders for these guys here. These
to hold the books up. It has to be heavy duty. There's, like I said, there's nothing pretty
you could run water through those if you had to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We can make a fountain back here. And, if we run a water hose up here, we could really do some amazing stuff.
I was just thinking it'd be really smart for one of these vendors to have a Keurig coffee machine with lots of water and lots of Keurigs.
I think somebody does.
Oh, that's
somewhere.
That's pretty smart because that would be like
Now they don't have all the hoses and dispensers, but they have a Keurig.
You could make it so it could be a little more industrial.
You could do that. I can go over and borrow the water tank back here and hook it up and make our own. That would draw more people. So we could try that.
Might bring a leak.
It'd be messy.
We would turn a booth into having a plumbing issue. That's good.
But wouldn't that look manly?
Very manly.
A big plumbing mess. So been there.
All right. Well, I think this is great. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for ministering to pregnancy clinics for 2 decades, I guess, and still going. And
it's because I'm old. It's not necessarily the experience.
Well, my company is the same age. We just turned 21, so I'm in the same boat of in here.
You're not that old.
44. I don't know. Yeah.
So you started young.
I did.
Yeah. I'm a lot older than 44, but I won't say.
You're probably 45.
Yes. Yes. Every bit of it. And then some.